What does it mean to be a smart city? Why do people call it the Silicon Savannah?
Is the use of ICT and ICT-enabled services, so that all the services within the Technopolis are ICT-enabled. Every amenity, social amenity, is designed to be 15 minutes away, walk from where you are. The workforce and the expertise are all Africans. And this has enabled us to develop a critical mass of people who are knowledgeable in developing a smart city. So all our engineers have participated in this project, and they can actually speak to what it takes to develop a smart city. We've had guests from Uganda, Rwanda. All of them are coming to see what is Kenya doing. Rwanda recently launched their own smart city equivalent. All these are getting inspiration from what Konza is doing.
So trust the process. One day your life is gonna change. Keep on believing. You will be better than before. So trust the process.
Just like you, I've always wanted to know what happens at Konza Technopolis. Why is it called a smart city or dubbed Silicon Savannah? Today, not only do we get to experience the beauty of this place, but you get to realize why Africa is definitely the future. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Karibu
Lynn.
sana LNN.
Thank you.
How is the year for you?
So far, so good. It has moved very fast, and we are hoping that we'll end it on a high note.
Good.
Yes.
And I feel like Konza is one of the things that people are looking at, and they are really positive about it.
Correct.
There's a lot of growth, and I can't wait for us to get into the episode.
Yes.
But for the person that is tuning in for the very first time, could you please, looking at that camera, introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn.
Yes.
My name is John Polokwiri. I'm the CEO of Konza Technopolis. I'm glad to be in your platform and to undertake this interview with you today. And thank you for the good job that you are doing. You've actually transformed how we view media and also how accessible media can be for us.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
They say this is the digital era. And
Yes,
we are
this is
happy.
a digital era.
It's the digital era, and we are happy to be part of it. But I was really interested in catching up on behalf of our audience, just to see the progress.
Correct.
This is not an ad, but I love the progress. I love what we are seeing.
Correct.
And I feel the disadvantage is that when you're on the road, you can't get quite to see what happens inside.
For sure.
So congratulations on a good job.
Thank you.
But people are saying, you know, this is the future. What you have going on is the future. So could you please start by telling us, how did Konza come about?
Thank you.
The Technopolis, how did it come about?
So Konza Technopolis Development Authority is the implementing agency of Konza Technopolis, which is a Vision 2030 key flagship project that aims to transform Kenya into a newly industrializing country, providing high quality of life to all its citizens by the year 2030. KOTDA, which is Konza Technopolis Development Authority, seeks to develop a sustainable smart city and an area of innovation, an innovation ecosystem that is contributing to Kenya's knowledge economy. So that is all about Konza Technopolis and why we were set up.
And when you say a smart city, you know, people say this is going to be Africa's first smart city. It's known as the Silicon Savannah. There are many beautiful words that go along defining this place. What does it mean to be a smart city? Why do people call it the Silicon Savannah?
Correct. So this Africa's Silicon Savannah, being Konza Technopolis, which is the project that we are implementing. We are implementing a smart city from a greenfield, which means from scratch. Most of the cities that have been developed all over the world have always come from a brownfield. A brownfield means it's an area that already there were some activities going on, some buildings, but not from a greenfield. So we are privileged to develop Konza Technopolis from a greenfield. And this has given us the opportunity to master plan it. And in master planning, we mean that we are able to put in all the infrastructure, design all the infrastructural work and put them in place before human population come in. And that is what has enabled us as Konza Technopolis Development Authority to plan a sustainable smart city that is able to speak to the sustainability and environmental friendliness of the city. Being a smart city means several things, but in this case is the use of ICT and ICT-enabled services, so that all the services within the Technopolis are ICT-enabled, and also all the infrastructure and all the work that is within the Technopolis is sustainable in as far as environment friendliness and compliance to environmental requirements, biodiversity is concerned.
Beautiful. Why Silicon Savannah?
Silicon Savannah now provides us with an opportunity to present a platform for Africa and for Kenya to enable us provide an environment for innovation and an innovation ecosystem where ideas can be generated, and these ideas bring in new solutions, innovative solutions and technology to solve our problems.
Africa's
problems.
By Africans.
By Africans.
I love that. I love that. When we talk about the infrastructure, what are we talking about? Could you walk me through? I know most of our audience are not privileged to be able to be here and see what I'm seeing. So could you walk me through what are these infrastructures that we are talking about that are going to make this a smart city?
Now, when we talk about infrastructure, let me just say the word basic infrastructure. For any human population to coexist in a location, there are basic infrastructure that they will need before they get into that space. So you must have the road network in place, because people need to come to the location. You also need to have the water system in place, because you know water is life. You cannot be in a place without water. You also need to have planned and provided for wastewater management. The sewage water, how will it be managed? Because the population will generate some waste. You also need to plan on how solid waste will be managed, because you know the city can be beautiful, but if you don't manage your solid waste, then it is as good as doing nothing. You also need to provide for electricity. And you know, energy is the driver of everything. For a population to be in a place like a city, it means there are some activities that will be going on. And those activities are driven by energy. So you need to have energy in place. You also need to have, being a technology city, you need to provide for fiber network, because you need technology to drive your activities. So technology, fiber network is also in place. You also need to provide for a green and clean environment. And this means you must have parks, vegetation, trees, and all this will require an irrigation network. So all these are requirements that make a place livable and also sustainable. So this is the basic infrastructure that has to be put in place. Now, Government of Kenya, establishing Konza Technopolis, committed to provide basic infrastructure that will make Konza Technopolis provide an enabling environment at Konza Technopolis for investors to thrive. And that is what basic infrastructure means. And that is what now government has put in place in Konza Technopolis. And therefore, Konza, as far as it is now ready for investors to come in and invest and achieve the requirements of their investment.
I love that. And one of the things I really loved about this place, as you've explained, among your infrastructure, is the waste management.
Yes.
Could you walk me through that so that the audience get to understand? I'm really interested in the electricity, on how you are able to attain that, and your waste management.
Okay, so let me start with the waste management. Now, there are two aspects. There's solid waste and also wastewater. Okay, so for what we've provided for in the Technopolis is solid waste management, where now we will not, we've provided a network, a solid waste management system that uses vacuum, so that we will not have lorries carrying solid waste on the streets the way we see in other cities. We have every parcel, every building has been given a provision for solid waste management system, where now solid waste is categorized. We have the organic waste, kitchen waste, metallic, plastic, all that is segregated at the start, and residents are able to put in the solid waste in a bin that will be, once it is full, is able to be vacuumed to a central location, instead of having plastic bags and lorries moving across the city to carry the solid waste. So that is one aspect that as a city we've ensured that it's available for residents. So that is one way of managing our solid waste. Now, for the wastewater, we've developed a wastewater reclamation facility. This is a facility that uses technology to ensure that we're able to treat the wastewater and recycle it back into the network, and it can be used for irrigation. So we make sure that there's no water that is wasted, because we're able to treat the bad water and make it also clean water that can be potable.
And someone can drink that?
And yes, it can be drunk, and it's been treated to WHO standard, which means it can be consumed. But in this case, since we are Africans, we can provide for it to be used for irrigation. Okay? But that is what we provided for as part of the infrastructure for Konza Technopolis.
All right. And electricity?
And for electricity, we provided a 66 kV. Okay, let me explain about electricity. Now, we have a Ketrako substation here in Konza, which is 400 kV substation. So that is high voltage of power. But then within the Technopolis, we have a 66 kV substation that is now able to distribute power to the household for domestic purposes. Now, this means that we've been able to provide for redundancy, where we will not be able to have blackouts simply because one line has been down and the other one is. So we have several, at the 400 kV substation, we have several lines coming in, and that means that we are able to have consistent power without having one failing and the other one not picking up. So we've provided for that. And then also, as you'll be going around, you'll be able to see that we don't have overhead lines. All our lines have been provided for underneath.
Really?
Yes, we don't have overhead lines.
So no cables around, nothing?
No cables. And the ones you'll see are the ones we're using for temporary during the construction. But we have a substation, and you'll be able to see it, that now has been able to have the electric network underneath the roads. Our roads, we don't call them just roads. They are called streetscapes.
Street what?
Streetscapes.
Okay.
So streetscape means now streetscape means that it's not just a road. It also have underlying utilities, so that we are able to provide for all utilities underneath the roads. So we have the fiber optic network underneath the road, electric power network underneath the road, irrigation network underneath the road. We also have, stormwater drainage system. You see, during floods, you see a lot of water on the road. In Konza, we won't have that, because we've provided for stormwater drainage, so that when it rains, the water is able to drain into a network, which is underneath the road, and it's drained up to the wastewater reclamation facility, so that we are able to recycle it and use it back into the network.
Wow.
So that's why we call our road streetscape. And also when you'll be going around, you'll see that the streets actually have trees lined across. And also we've provided for walkways. So they are not just the usual roads, and also cycling paths. So it's not just a road, it's more than a road.
Yeah.
And all that is within the city. And that is why we are saying we've laid the necessary basic infrastructure to make Konza Technopolis a place that you'd want to live in it, you'll want to enjoy your life here, and also invest in the Technopolis.
All right. Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is Konza City will never have blackouts and it will never flood here.
For sure.
Okay.
It will never flood. And recently, when it was flooding in the other cities, there were no floods here. And as you go around, you'll be able to see. And by the way, even the way the roads are designed, they are not as flat. They're tilted in a way that when it rains, the water is able to drain itself to the location where it's needed to be taken off to the central location, which is for recycling.
All right. Yeah. Why was the underground construction so important for you guys? And do you think that is something Kenyans need to start embracing? What are the pros? What are the benefits of that underground construction?
Yes. The benefit is it's very unique, because if you go to other cities, you'll find that they are digging everywhere. Okay, if you're a service provider for internet, for example, you want to lay your cable.
So much digging.
Yes, so everybody comes. The next service provider comes and digs. So for us, it was important that we avoid the digging, because it's so much investment that the government has put into the infrastructure, and it would not be right that when another service provider comes in, and there are many, because we keep growing, we'll be able to dig the good network that has been done. So we've laid them underneath, so that we've provisioned any service provider who comes and wants to lay their network, there's a tunnel that you can put in your cable, and it will be distributed all over the city. So you don't have to dig. So that is why it was important that we have all our utilities underneath, so that we don't have to dig all the time. And we've provisioned for that. There's a tunnel for each. And also, just for the sake of neatness, let me use the word neatness of the city. When you have cables all over, it means there was no proper planning that was done. So in Konza Technopolis, we've ensured that the master plan was done to the detail. And we've provided for guidelines for each parcel. Each parcel of land has its own specific use, and even up to the density. Density means how many people can be in that space. So that as an investor, when you come, if you are to build high-rise building, there's a location for high-rise. If you are supposed to build low density, there's a location for low density. So that we don't have what we have in other cities, where people have built low density housing, then tomorrow an investor comes, the building is demolished and puts up a high-rise.
Yes.
So it destroys the planning that was done. So in Konza, we won't have such. And we've provisioned for every parcel its use. So that if it is a mixed use, for example, if it's a mall, then there is a location. If it is a social amenity, a club, it's in its place. So we won't have a situation where you have social amenities within residential areas, something that was not planned. If it's a church, there's a location for a church. If it is a school, there's a location for a school. So that every parcel is, if it's industrial activity, we've provisioned an area where all industrial activities will be done. So that is why it was important for us to have proper planning, and also avoid having wires running,
All
crisscrossing the city.
And I feel like it also saves on space.
And it saves also on space, yes, for sure.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
talking about facilities and amenities, what are some of these facilities that stand out in Konza Technopolis, where the rest of Africa will look at and say, oh my goodness, this exists there?
Yes. So we have an anchor tenant, and it was important that we have an anchor tenant. And our anchor tenant is not just any other anchor tenant, a supermarket.
What's an anchor tenant?
An anchor tenant is that one tenant that will speak to the ecosystem of the city.
Okay.
So in our case, we are looking at having a high quality of life for the residents of the city and also Kenyan citizens. We have a university, and it's a special university, a university of special interest in as far as speaking to the ecosystem of the city. And you remember, Konza Technopolis is speaking to 3 clusters: ICT and ICT-enabled services, engineering, and also life sciences. So we have a special university, which is Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, which is our anchor tenant. And this university is going to bring in the ecosystem of the quality of the Technopolis in as far as research and development is concerned, and also innovation, providing an ecosystem where innovators can thrive. And this means that we are able to create an environment of knowledge, and we are able to commercialize that knowledge and establish our knowledge economy. And as a country, Konza is in the forefront to drive this agenda, to ensure that we contribute to the GDP through commercialization of knowledge. And commercialization of knowledge in this case means that you are able to do research, you are able to bring in new ideas, create innovation, commercialize that innovation in as far as copyrights and patents, and we are able to commercialize and get revenue from knowledge. So that is what the university, being an anchor tenant, is. You will not find it anywhere else where you have a city and there's a university that is creating that ecosystem within the city. So that is one of the features, special facilities that you'll find in Konza Technopolis. And the university focuses on STEM: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And it is a graduate-only university, meaning that it's a university that will provide linkage for the industry, the government, and the academia.
Wow.
The academia will do the research and generate the knowledge. The industry will bring in the ideas so that they can provide more research and create new products out of that research and development. And the government will provide the enabling environment to ensure that we are able to commercialize all our knowledge that we've done through the university. So that is a special feature that you'll find. We also have a national data center. Given the digital transformation agenda that we are driving, you need a national data center to be able to store the data. And you know, for you to move to the next level, you need to be the one having the data. You need the data so that you are able to generate trends, analytics, and that gives you the opportunity to provide solutions, because with the trends and analytics, you are able to see what are the problems, how do we solve them, and that is how now a national data center comes in. Because for you to drive a digital agenda, you need to have that data with you. So Konza Technopolis, we have a national data center, which is a state-of-the-art facility that is uptime certified, Tier 3 data center. You will not find that one anywhere else.
In Africa?
In Africa.
For real?
For real, you will not find.
At South Africa, wana?
They are coming closer. But they can't achieve it because power issues.
Yes.
You know, uptime means if you store your data with us and you need it, you are able to access it immediately. So uptime means how long, what percentage is your data center uptime. And in as far as energy, power, and power is the main ingredient in this case. How sustainable is the power? Is it green power? And what is the redundancy? If power goes off now, okay, will you as a client be unable to access your data because I'm out of power as a data center? So uptime, that is how certification is done for uptime.
Okay.
For how long do you stay uptime? So the requirement for certification is 99.999%. So our data center is 99.999%.
Okay, you
go. Uptime certified.
Okay, we get it. All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So that is one of the facilities we have here.
Na golf course. Me, I saw a golf course. I saw 10. I've seen so many sporting facilities for the sport lovers.
Yes. On the part of infrastructure, that is the commitment and the work of the government through KOTDA. Now we have all other amenities that are coming up that now are supposed to be put up by developers, investors. Konza is an investment destination. So that means that this infrastructure that we've put in place, we are saying we are ready for investors to come and plug in and play. So we've provisioned also for a golf course. Okay, first, we have 1,000 acres of wildlife corridor. This area was a ranch. It means, and also it connects between the Athi-Kapiti migration corridor for the wildlife from Nairobi National Park to Amboseli. So we sit in between. So we, as part of biodiversity plan of the city, we are required, and we were required to provide 1,000 acres as a wildlife corridor for our animals, wild animals, so that they are able to migrate whenever they want, and we don't interfere with their ecosystem as much as we being a city. So as part of that wildlife corridor, one of the land uses is a golf course, because it can be integrated into the corridor. So we've provisioned for an investment that will entice an investor to come and put up a golf course in Konza Technopolis. So a golf course is also been provisioned for. We've also provided provision for a digital media city, which is our next project.
A digital media city?
A digital media city.
This I'm interested.
Yes. So a digital media city is an infrastructure, is a facility that will be able to provide for film, animation, gaming, software, engineering, and also fashion, arts, creatives. So it's an environment that as a creative, like you and the rest of the creatives that we have, can come and plug in and play. If, for example, you are a filmmaker, you will find all the equipment in the place, all the settings, all the scenarios, and you are able to shoot in, get the equipment, shoot your film, and also produce.
Wow.
So it's a platform that, as Konza Technopolis, we are very proud of, and we know it's a project that is going to change our creative economy. Yeah.
You spoke of the 1,000 acres for the wildlife.
Yes.
In total, Konza Technopolis sits on how many acres of land?
Konza Technopolis sits on 5,000 acre piece of land, which is fully master planned. But then we know as a Technopolis, it will be of our interest also to ensure the development around the city are also planned. So we've worked with the 3 county governments, Machakos, Kajiado, and Makueni, to also plan a 10-kilometer radius around the 5,000 acres, so that we avoid having informal settlements around the city. So we can say the Technopolis will be 150,000 acres of land that will be fully master planned, and that means we'll have a bigger impact for the community and also the surrounding counties.
All right. So one of the things you've also done, you've taken care of the communities outside Konza Technopolis.
Correct.
That's good. How many people are supposed to fit in here?
We have planned for 240 citizens in the city. but residents of 180,000 residents. And then, of course, we'll have those who will come in and come out. We provision for 30,000 people will come in and come out. The residents, 180,000, and the population of 240,000.
Okay,
yes,
let's
total.
Go to investing. I'm really interested as Lynn.
Yes,
mi naweza kuja nijishikie 1 acre inside Konza Technopolis. Niseme mimi nataka kujenga hapa.
Correct.
For real.
Correct. It's an investment destination, right?
How much is it?
And we've provisioned. And by the way, as you'll be going around, you'll be able to see what we're talking about.
Yes.
From the model, you'll be able to see what we're saying. And also, as you go around, you'll also be able to see the parcels that have already been fully serviced in as far as infrastructure is concerned.
Okay.
And in Konza, all our parcels are corner plots because we have road network around it. So you'll just need to say you want to put up residential, for example. We'll take you where you can get your 1 acre for a residential.
Okay.
If you want to put up an apartment, okay, high rise, then we'll take you to the place where you can put up your apartment. If you want to do, for example, mall, mixed use, we'll take you to the right parcel where you can get.
All right.
And it is as easy as that.
So it's controlled.
Yes.
You can't just build it. It's controlled.
Yes.
Okay.
It's highly controlled.
But bado hujanijibu 50 by 100 ni pesa.
No, 50 by 100 hakuna. And let me tell you why. There's no 50 by 100.
Sasa, what do you mean hakuna 50 by 100?
In as far as physical planning is concerned,
Yes.
50 by 100 is not even allowable. Okay? Because as far as sustainability is concerned, you are supposed to have a parcel that you'll be able to construct in 60%, and 40% you have to provide for greening and landscaping and trees. That is what is acceptable. So in a 50 by 100, you'll have a concrete jungle because you'll have your building and cabros, and that's not sustainable.
So inaanza size gani? What size?
An acre, according to
the standards,
international standard, an acre will suit you well, and therefore we don't have 50 by 100. The 50 by 100 you hear about are in the periphery.
Yes.
Yeah. So you hear someone say Konza Technopolis. If you go there, it's far-flung area.
From Konza.
Yes, and subdivided. But then it's within the buffer zone, and as I mentioned, we are also planning the buffer zone.
Good.
So at some point, working together with the counties, we'll have to ensure that the 50 by 100s do not exist also within the buffer zone.
Okay.
And there was a moratorium to that, which the county signed, and they put a stop to subdivision because it's not sustainable.
Yeah. So proper planning is mandatory.
Proper planning is mandatory. And in Konza, we've developed all those guidelines, and we want to ensure that we implement the plan as per what has been established. Yes.
Has Konza itself built its own apartments that people can move into already? Have you done that, or should I come and start from scratch?
Okay, so being a development agency, as part of this project, infrastructure project that we are doing, we were able to put a sample furnished apartment, and you'll be able to see it. And it was just a sample to show other investors what we are talking about when we say residential. Okay? It's one of a kind, it is well planned and also well designed. And it is just a sample to show investors that we are not, if we say housing, we are not talking about the other housing that you know, the poorly designed apartments. This one is well done. But then that is where we were. We are also putting up a conference facility, and also upcoming is a hotel. So all this we're just doing to ensure that we provide an environment when investors come, then they are able to start from somewhere, the way you said.
And they are able to see what can. So investment opportunities are major. You can put a mall, you can build an apartment, you can move into your home.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
All that is available. It's a fully fledged city. Yes.
All right. And one of the things that many people will remember, or one of the person that many people remember when they hear about Konza Technopolis, Technopolis is the late President Mwai Kibaki.
Yes,
looking back, would this have made him proud?
Yes, from the visionary that our late president was, that's Mwai Kibaki, he will be happy with what has been done so far. At least he'll be happy that we never let the dream slide, and we've been able to implement it according to the master plan. And that is something that will make him very proud. And now that we are approaching Vision 2030, it is important that we make the city livable before 2030. And that is our drive now, to ensure that we have investors in place who are able to put up their infrastructure, and then we are able to also have residents by the time we get to 2030. That means we'll now be a city, because a city must have residents. Yeah.
Okay, and 2030 is just 6 years away. Is there pressure to hit the deadline? Is there pressure for Konza to hit the 2030 deadline?
Yes, there's a lot of pressure, especially in ensuring that we have investors in place, and that we are able to have population before 2030, and that we are able to have impact. We are able to make impact. We have to contribute at least 2% to the economy, to the GDP. And therefore, as Vision 2030 approaches, it is paramount that as a Technopolis, we put all the measures in place that now we are able to say we have now accelerated our impact, and we can have the metrics in place to be able to achieve the at least 2% GDP.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of pressure to ensure that is done, and we are up to it. And we will ensure that by the time we get to 2030, the city shall have taken shape. Yes.
How has this challenged other African countries? Do you think people have borrowed inspiration from Konza Technopolis,
Correct.
other African countries?
Yes. We receive guests every day from other jurisdictions. We've had guests from Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, South Africa. All of them are coming. Nigeria, yeah. All of them are coming to see what is Kenya doing in as far as innovation is concerned, in as far as smart cities is concerned, in as far as science park. We are also a science park. So this has attracted a lot of interest, and the fact that we are doing it from scratch. The perception out there is that Africa, we do not, yes, we have very great ideas, but we don't implement it. So when they come to Kenya, they find out that Kenya is actually implementing an idea and is implementing it to the way it was planned. So that has really challenged a lot of African countries, and we keep receiving guests. And you can even see from the news, African countries that are lining up to establish smart cities. Rwanda recently launched their own smart city equivalent. Uganda is in the process of conducting their feasibilities, and they want to put up. Tanzania, the same. Zimbabwe were here recently, and they're doing that. There's a smart city being built in Ghana, Senegal, Egypt. All these are getting inspiration from what Konza is doing. And we are proud to be the leaders, to show the way to these African countries that it's indeed doable.
Okay. And given this is an African city for Africans and by Africans, there's always that concern from people. Why is it that we are saying this is an African city, but the labor is not African, right? When we talk about labor and labor provision, what have you done to ensure that a lot of Africans who are developing this feel they've been part of this?
Of it, yeah. So, and that is a very good question, because as Africans, we also need to produce Africans, So what we've done in this project, we've ensured that as part of the work that is going on here, there's knowledge transfer, and that 40% of the local content is involved in the development of this Technopolis. You will be going around, you'll be able to see the people at the plant, the people working on site, the technical expertise that is there are all Africans. the contractor could be from the donor country, yes, but the workforce and the expertise are all Africans. And this has enabled us to develop a critical mass of people who are knowledgeable in developing a smart city. So all our engineers have participated in this project, and they can actually speak to what it takes to develop a smart city. So you'll be able to see that, and we've protected that dearly. And also from the local community. The local community has also benefited massively in this project. And you can see from the development that are currently going on, you can actually feel that it is the impact of what is going on here that has impacted even the local
communities,
townships, Machakos Junction, Machakos Town, Malili. You'll be able to see. When I joined this organization, Malili was just a junction where you could see trucks parking.
Yeah.
But when you go there today, you will see the massive development going on there. It's because of this project that has been here that has created the necessity for investors now to invest in the local township.
Okay.
And also the project has employed over 5,000 people at its peak. We had over 5,000 people working in this project. And that means it has also impacted the families of the community and the people working in this project.
All right. And what, with every good thing, of course, comes challenges.
Correct.
What are some of the key challenges that you have faced bringing this to life? And also, what can people learn from that?
Yes. So we've had challenges in the project. It has not been easy. But then we've been able to surmount those challenges and at least present something that as a country we can be proud of. We've had challenges to deal with financial constraints, right? Compared to what you would have expected the Technopolis to achieve within a certain time. But we are happy that we've received a lot of support from the government of Kenya that has increasingly invested in the project. Konza Technopolis, being a Vision 2030 project, was started by a different administration.
Yes.
It has now transitioned 3 administrations. And all these administrations have really supported the project. And therefore, that's what has made us to be where we are. So despite the fact that we would have wanted to finish doing infrastructure for the 5,000 acres at once, we've been able to phase it out based on the availability of funding. And therefore, we are proud that we've been able to complete the whole of phase 1. And now we are implementing phase 2. And very soon, we'll now have investors populate the city with a vertical development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any, do we have any investors who have moved in already? Do we have residents who have settled? Are people building? Or in terms of that, what's the progress? Do we have any life around?
Yes. So we have investors who have already come in. Okay, let me explain. In phase 1, we have 147 parcels available for investors, and in various areas, various commercial, residential, university, technology, and also mixed use and light industry. So we have investors in all those areas. Out of the 147 parcels, over 100 have already been allocated to investors.
Wow.
And they're now in the process of developing their design, doing resource mobilization so that they can break ground. Out of that, we have one of our investors who has already broken ground, and the construction is currently ongoing.
Wow.
And you'll be able to see the university, it's Riara University, that is currently on site.
Riara is here.
And developing their campus. Their main campus will be located here.
Wow.
And that's an investment that is currently ongoing. We have another range of investors that we've now finally approved and issued construction permits. And very soon, they'll begin to construct. So those are some of the activities that are currently ongoing. And it is in our interest to ensure that investors, private investors, are now able to put in the money. That, for us, validates the government's commitment in the infrastructure. And being in an environment that is well planned, each one of us would be very happy to be in an environment that is orderly. So that is what has attracted most of these investors to come here.
Okay.
We are working, among the investors set to break ground are those in housing. So with the housing, we'll be able now to have residents of the Technopolis. And with that now, life can you can feel the life.
Yes.
You can feel the life. Because we need the residents, residentials to be in place to attract population. And with population, you expect that now everything will grow organically. So that's what we are working on.
All right. Yeah. And one of the key things I've not touched on, maybe before we wind up, is security. Yes. This is a city.
Correct.
So we expect high standard, of course.
Yes.
But would you walk me through the security of this place? How is it supposed to turn out?
Okay. So you will go around.
Yes.
You'll be able to see the surveillance system that has been put in place. We want Konza Technopolis to be a livable, walkable, smart city, where every resident is able to feel secure and be secured. And that means that we have to we will have to use technology to make the environment safe. So we have proper surveillance in place. We have various intelligent systems in place in as far as governing of the city is concerned. And you'll be able to see, we have smart traffic lights that is able to control which traffic goes fast, which one goes now, depending on the traffic jam and congestion. And as Technopolis, you'll be able to have residents who feel secure. Every amenity, social amenity, is 15 minutes, is designed to be 15 minutes away, walk, 15 minutes away from where you are. For example, if your resident is here and you want to go to church, in the next 15 minutes walk, you find a church. Wow. If you want to go to a school, it's 15 minutes away. If you want to go to a social amenity, a mall, 15 minutes. So that is how the master planning of the city has been done. And this is to provide for livability, walkability within the city. Okay. And if it's a city where residents can comfortably walk, it means that residents will feel more healthy. Okay, you'll have a healthy residents and population. And also for us to provide for walkability, it means also security has to be paramount. So we've provided for surveillance within the city, and there's a central command center that will ensure that there's proper response in case of any incident that might happen within the city. Okay. So that has been provided, and you'll be able to see.
Mkona whole GSU.
Yeah, we call it Security Command Center. And fire emergency services. Okay. So it also provides for fire, and you'll be able to see it's a construction that's currently ongoing, and we'll be able to complete it. And we've provisioned for a security surveillance system, like a command center that commands the security of the Technopolis through using technology. So we'll not have many bodies like many barracks, you know.
It's smart. Everything is smart.
Yes. And then that also provides that we have to provide for proper perimeter security. So we've provisioned for use of drones to provide surveillance within the city, and also at the perimeter. When you are traveling in, you could see at the perimeter we've designed some bumps. We call them bumps, though they look like hills. Yeah. So, and I can explain that. You see, inside here we have black cotton soil, which is very deep. Okay. So what we've done in as part of the plan is to ensure that that black cotton soil is not dumped somewhere where it will not be useful. We are using it to create the bumps. Wow. And the bumps also will act as security deterrent, so that also as much as beautiful as it looks, it also provides for a response in as far as security, surveillance of the city is concerned, so that somebody does not just drive in, drive out, but then it allows us to provision for various entrance within the city. Like we've planned for 3 major roads, which provide for 3 major entrance into the city.
Okay.
And this will also ensure that we provide an environment that is controlled and the security can be monitored properly.
Which makes me, brings me to this question. So kutakuwa na matatu huku ndani ama watu wenye hawana gari wanafaa?
What we've done, matatu itakuwa lakini ni matatu intelligent.
Wewe kuisha. Ndio which?
Yes, so we've provisioned for intelligent traffic system. That means, for example, there's currently a project we're working on that has designed mass transit from Nairobi to Konza and Konza to Nairobi.
Wow.
And also from JKIA to Konza, and also just mass transit, so that if you are an investor and you've landed at JKIA and you want to go to Konza, so we've designed and it's going to be implemented. It will provide for electric vehicle and mass transit, the big buses that are able to quickly take you to Konza and evacuate you also from Konza as an investor, and real time and fast time. Wow. So that means that, and when you'll go around, you'll see our roads are not as large as you would expect outside there. And that is by design. And you'll also provide that, you see that we've provided for walkways. So that means that we'll have mass transit buses that are electric and are able to carry residents from one area to another.
Wow.
So that you don't end up driving your car, because also we've not provisioned for parking in areas that not for, the parking provided is not for mass parking, right? The mass parking will be provided for at the entrance.
Yes.
So that you are able to come in as a resident, leave, park your car safely.
And walk.
And you can walk, you can pick an electric bike.
Yes.
Electric scooter, or get into an electric bus.
Ni free.
To drop you. We will provide for, like in the developed world, it's free.
So it will be free.
So it's part of the city management services. Because we want to make the city livable, so that you enjoy the life that you want to live in the Technopolis.
Me, I think I'll be coming. I just park there, enjoy the free, and then I go.
And you can see that, it's part of, if you go to developed countries,
I know,
it is part of city management.
Yes.
And it's the residents enjoy just being taken around.
Yes.
And when you do that, you also make the residents avoid a situation where everybody is driving.
Good.
So you are all in traffic simply because the authority did not provide for mass public transport.
Good.
Yeah, and decent public transport for that matter. So that's what we're working on.
That's actually very beautiful.
Yes.
That's really, so you have the bikes, the scooters, the buses.
Yes.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah, so that we don't have everybody driving, polluting the environment.
Yeah.
And by the way, in the next few years, there will be no gasoline cars.
Yeah.
All the cars will be electric. So as a city, how do we position ourselves to ensure that we are there when that time comes? It means we have to begin now. Yeah. And we've begun it through the planning of the city. This
was once a concrete jungle.
Yes.
Now there is this very beautiful city coming up. How does that make you feel to see all this happening in a place that would have been feared by so many people? I was actually watching one of the clips with some of the key people that were during the foundation years. And they were talking about this place having been infested, with animals, the bush, everything. And
even
now,
ticks.
Even you see, and now look at this. How does that make you feel?
So it's quite motivating. In fact, for those of us who have been privileged to work in Konza Technopolis, because you can actually feel every day you come in, you are able to see the change that is happening. Today you find there was no road. It was just vast land, and now there's road, and there's vegetation also growing every day. So it makes us feel quite motivated with the progress that we are seeing every day. And this is one of a kind. It's an opportunity. And the beautiful thing is that we are doing it from scratch, which means we are able to put in the right place what is required when it is required, rather than coming to disorient an ecosystem that was already established. So it's quite refreshing to be in this space and quite motivating. Yeah.
What legacy do you think this all will leave behind? What do you think in 100 years people will look back and say about Konza Technopolis?
People will feel the impact of the Technopolis, and looking at the innovations that will come out as an impact of what Konza Technopolis has done for the country. You know, it's providing an environment where people can come, think, generate ideas, technological solutions to our problems, and commercialize them. When you look at the world today, previously it was the companies dealing in agriculture, oil, that were the leading generators of revenue in the world. Now, when you look at the current situation, it's technology companies that are leading in as far as providing revenue generation platforms. You look at Apple, you look at Microsoft, you look at Google, all these are technology companies that are now leading. So it means Konza Technopolis is going to provide this environment, platform where as a country we are able to now make use of technology to provide more technological solutions and commercialize and generate revenue and contribute to our GDP, which means at the end of the day, we shall have impacted the life of our citizens and make the life of our citizens better through use of ICT and ICT-enabled services, research and development. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I appreciate this. It's been a beautiful conversation to have, but maybe before we wind up, is there anything we left behind that you feel you can add on to as you give our people your parting shot?
Speaking of impact, we are currently quite engaged in the innovation ecosystem through our Jitume Digital Enablement Program. It is a program that has been embraced by even His Excellency, the President, that is really creating impact in our youth. We have implemented this program through the partnership with TVET institutions, where now we are able to provide the young people with devices, also connect them with internet, and also train them and link them with digital job opportunities. You know, since COVID, we've learned that actually you do not have to travel to Europe to work in Europe.
Yes.
As long as you've got the technical skills, you are able to have connectivity internet, and you are able to have access a device that you are able to access the internet. It means you can access the globe. So what we are doing as Konza Technopolis, we've deployed devices in all the TVET institutions, and we are offering training to the youth, and we are linking them with job opportunities, online job opportunities, so that the young people do not have to wear a suit and a white collar to get employed and look for CVs to get employment. They can actually, through their technical skills, they are able to access job opportunities online. So that is what we are doing as Konza Technopolis, and we are accelerating the impact of Konza through such initiatives. And it's an initiative that is going on well. And you know, in the plan, the government has articulated digital superhighway, and the government is implementing 1450 digital hubs in all the wards of our country. And that is what the impact of Konza Technopolis is going to be, because we are at the forefront in implementing that digital superhighway.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I appreciate you once again for having this conversation. It was always my wish to understand what happens inside Konza.
Yes.
From a very
layman's
perspective.
understanding,
Napitanga tu nasikia ona Konza, but today just being inside and getting to see what happens has provided, new insight, and at least I can go back and now tell people actually this is what happens inside Konza. Yeah. Yes. Considering Konza is a city, airport iko side gani? Tuko na Konza International Smart Airport. What's happening?
Konza Technopolis is 5,000 acre piece of land.
Yes.
And we've master planned it to the dot. And we had intentions of planning for an airport within the 5,000 acres. But then when we sought approvals and feasibility studies through the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, they visited here and they found that it was not easy to do an airport within the 5,000 acres. And of course, this airport, we had designed it to have investors so that accessibility of the city becomes easy. But then they found there were a lot of strong winds within the 5,000 acres, and therefore it was not easy to get an approval to do an airport within Konza Technopolis. But then, working together with the 3 counties in planning of the buffer zone. So I told you the buffer zone is about 10-kilometer radius around the 5,000 acres.
Yeah.
Working together with the 3 counties, they were able to identify a location near the Athi-Kapiti area that KCAA approved to be feasible to locate an airport. So that is the area that in the buffer zone plan has been provisioned that for future expansion and future development of airports, that area is feasible to do an airport.
Okay.
So it's an area that working together with the 3 counties, it's an investment opportunity for anyone else who is interested in developing an airport within the Konza Technopolis buffer zone. Yeah.
So itaitwa Konza Airport.
Yes, this whole area is Konza.
Yes.
So Konza Airport will make sense. Will make sense for that.
Yeah.
But then it is important to note that now development of an airport is a critical infrastructure, and it is the government to decide whether the airport can be developed in that area or not. Yeah.
All right. Also, maybe something I forgot to touch on, wildlife. There are people, there's an integration of that with the residents. How do we ensure that the animals are safe and the people, of course?
Yes, and the people. So before such an infrastructure activity is undertaken, there are various compliance requirements that we are required to do. You have to comply with the NEMA guidelines. You have to comply with IFC standards, because the provision for how biodiversity is handled. So, and biodiversity refers to flora and fauna. So the animals and the vegetation.
Yes.
So that you do not also interfere with indigenous vegetation and also indigenous animals and also the wildlife in the area. So we develop a biodiversity management plan as part of the master plan of the city. And that's what even enabled us to attract funding. Because for you to attract funding, there are those compliance requirements. Biodiversity requirements is one of them. So given the 5,000 acres, one of the requirements was that we establish 1,000 acres for wildlife so that also we don't interfere with their ecosystem. So we ensure that the animals are well taken care of, and also the people. We work together with other agencies. We have Kenya Wildlife Service, that is one of our partners, in ensuring that the animals here are safe and are accounted for. And we do census of the animals every 2 years.
Really?
It's a requirement that we have to do census to know that how many have added, have migrated in, or how many have been born, or how many have migrated out. So that census is a requirement. And we do it every year. And we work together with Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that the animals are safe and also the people are safe. The good thing is that the animals, the wildlife we have here are not the are not the big four, so that it puts the life of the residents in danger. Most of the wildlife here are grazers, those that graze.
Yes.
And it makes it not as hostile as it could have been elsewhere. So we've taken care of the wildlife, and we get a lot of support from Kenya Wildlife Service.
Great.
Whenever we have an issue within the ecosystem. Yeah.
As I've said, it's been amazing being here. Now I understand what happens in here, and
Yes.
I know a lot of people who are watching also now get that feel, and they understand what happens here.
Yes.
I'm very happy to be associated with
Yes.
such a project.
Correct.
I get to say I'm Kenyan, and we
Yes.
have a Silicon Savannah,
Savannah,
in
yes.
our country.
Correct.
It's a prideful thing to be associated with. So all the best in completing this, and hopefully we meet 2030
Thank you.
to see tutakuwa tumefika wapi.
Thank you,
Yes.
Lynn. Thank you for having me for this interview.
Yeah.
I would like to say that Konza Technopolis is ready, and we'd like to welcome all investors to come to Konza Technopolis. Being a special economic zone, it means that we are ready for investment, and the infrastructure is ready. So all the investors, please come to Konza Technopolis, and you'll experience an environment that you never felt elsewhere in Africa.
Hey, kuisha. By then you kweli unaingia usiki kutoka huko. So if your pocket is good, may I always say take a chance on yourself. Take a chance if you are an investor and you want to come, do it. I've said this is not an ad. It's because I needed to satisfy my curiosity and also walk you guys through what Konza City is all about. And if you want to get hold of them, there are emails on your screen right now that you can use to get hold of them. And I hope you've been inspired. I am happy that this is Kenyan. So I know tunaona ni kama kuna kitu inaendelea, but you see things are happening, and I would love to hear from you on the comment section. What have you picked from this? What's your take home? And also if there's anything else you would love me to highlight, our email is always open for you, info@lnn.digital, and you can always find us there. So I hope I get to see you again tomorrow at 7 p.m. A huge shout out to our amazing team, our super producer Edwin, for putting this together and making sure that we have an amazing episode. Scholar and Muga, of course, for giving us this beautiful quality and filming this, and of course Joshua for being here to make sure that we are doing the job as it's supposed to be done. And the entire team at LNN, we appreciate you. And also, if you want to share your story with us, which might not be related to this, get us again at info@lnn.digital. Bye-bye.
So trust the process. One day your life is gonna change. Keep on believing.